In this lesson we are going to crochet 6 wheel or 6 flower from Masterpieces of Irish Crochet Lace, and written instructions for this motif you can find on page 12. So you will need to have triple cord. I will use my 5 in diameter 5 millimeters hook handle. If you don't have hook handle like this of that size, you can use knitting needle of 5 millimeters of 4. And we will wrap thread number 3. I use for the video. You can use number 10 if you use fine thread. But for the lesson, I would recommend to take thicker thread. So for my packing cord, I use thread number 3. And for the working thread, for the motif, I will use thread number 10. So wrap thread number 3 for the packing cord 3 times on the 5 millimeters needle. So you have 3 times and remove it. And pick up your working thread. And secure this thread first. We have to attach thread with slip stitch and crochet 18 single crochet stitches around the coil of triple thread, triple packing cord. At the same time, I crochet over the short tail of this working thread. It's right in here, going along with my packing cord. That way I don't have to weave it. And I lost my count. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and make sure that the ends, all the ends are together, meet in one place when you finish. So we had 15, now 16, 17, 17 and 18. So now we're done. And what I will do, pick up your working thread in the last stitch, then find the the packing cord that attached to the ball of thread, move it to the front, and also keep it together with the working thread, and you can cut off the short tails. Short tail of a packing cord and short tail of your working thread. Just cut it off very carefully not to cut stitches. Now let's come back to the motif again. And this time we have to make the last stitch. It's a slip stitch. Move the packing cord on the front toward you. It's a little bit different than what we do normally. and make a slip stitch into the first stitch. Now turn your work. So you see why I moved my packing cord to the back. And then this packing cord we will pick up and we will work with that as we crochet. So we turn our work and we make chain 5, 3, 4 and 5. After that we will crochet all stitches into the back loop of that on the back right here, those back loops. We will crochet in the back loops double crochet stitches that are separated by chain 2. So first we have chain 5 and we'll make into the next stitch double crochet stitch, then chain 2. Make sure that this chain 2 is nice and tight, really tight. Next, again we're going into the back loop, chain 2. It is important to crochet it tight because you want your flower in the middle be nice and firm, exactly as firm as petals. The edges of the flower will have packing cord, which will bring to a flower some and texture, and it will be stiff. So you want your center also be stiff a little bit. You want it to be firm and each stitch uniform. It is very important. So we have to crochet 17 stitches, 17 double crochet stitches. The chain 5 is playing the role of a first double crochet stitch. You don't have even to count, but I would count anyway if I were you. Sometimes it happens if you make a mistake, first row around and made, instead of 18 stitches, made accidentally 19. It's still nice to count and know that you have a right amount of stitches for the second round. Again 1, 2 and chain 2. Double crochet in the back loop and chain 2. And this time it's nice to count you at the end. So let's count how many double crochet stitches we made so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I actually made extra stitch here. So I will check one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, we made last 17th stitch, chain 2, and now we will have to make 2 slip stitches into the chain of 5. First stitch into the 3rd stitch and another one into the 4th stitch, and then we will crochet petals. Now this is not in the book. It's not, they don't use this packing cord until they will crochet the edges of petals, but I will add my packing cord around the last round, over the round 2. So every petal that I will connect to the round 2, I also will use packing cord. So I want this packing cord, it's quite, you know, it's right there, it's down. and I need to pick it up. So what I will do, I will pick up my packing cord, bring it closer to the chain of 5 stitches, and here I will find the 3rd stitch of the chain where I have to make my slip stitch. And first I will make that slip stitch to secure the packing cord one way, then move your packing cord on the back and find a 4th stitch and also make slip stitch here like that. So your packing cord will be there behind the chain. You will not really see it. If it will happen that it will be visible, then you can also move it. Instead of the 4th stitch, you can move it this way. First make your slip stitch into the 3rd stitch without packing cord, and then pick up packing cord and make slip stitch into the 4th stitch like that, and continue keeping this like that. This way you will not see, that's sure, you will not see packing cord behind the chain. I hope you can see very well everything I am making here. So now we will, my thread is tangled, so I have to untangle it first and have to move it on the back like this. And so following the instructions in the book. So first we make chain 1, and then we're going and making a single crochet stitch into the chain of 5. So now I'm crocheting over the packing cord. So we will make first petal, each petal done separately, and if you don't want, you want to try the way it is in a book, you can cut the packing cord back all the way when we cut this cord here, all these pieces. So you can cut it off and crochet the way it is in the book, not adding the packing cord. I noticed I've made it first time and I didn't like it. It's too wobbly and kind of weak to hold those petals. So I added my packing cord. So I will crochet first petal. So we started actually first row for the petal. So we made 1 single crochet, then next single crochet on the top of the double, then 2 single crochet stitches into the space between double crochet stitches into the chain of 2. So we have already 4 stitches, and last 2 stitches, 1 stitch again on the top of the double crochet, and 6 stitch into the chain of 2. So having this packing cord, it makes this edge nice and stiff and strong. Now we will drop packing cord for a while and we will crochet only with working thread. So packing cord is there. So the first row for the petal is done. It's 6 single crochet stitches. Then we made a chain 1 and turn work on another side. And we will crochet into the back loops all the time. So into the 2nd stitch from the hook, 1, 2, 2nd stitch. We crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And 6 and 7 stitches are made in 1 stitch, in the last stitch. So you crochet 5 single crochet stitches, and into the last stitch you make 6 and 7 stitches, 2 stitches I will also call it, and I will call it from now on, single crochet increase. Again, at the end of the row, chain 1 and turn. Next, again, into the second stitch from the hook, first, second, we will crochet 6 single crochet stitches first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep jumping off, and 6. So we have 6 single crochet, and last, into the last stitch, again single crochet increase. So the total of stitches will be 8, 7, and 8. Again, chain 1 and turn your work. Now I will zoom a little bit so that you will see stitches. I will show you in a minute. So we have 3 rows of petal. Now we will make a row with popcorn stitch. They don't call popcorn stitch in the book, but it is a popcorn stitch. 4 double crochet that are connected together at the top and made in one place, in one stitch, are called popcorn stitch in our modern literature for crochet. So first we crochet again into the second stitch from the hook, first, second. We have to make first, at first 4 single crochet stitches, 2, 3, and 4. And now in the book it says to make 4 double crochet stitches into the 4th stitch of the second row. The second row is right in here. You see those ridges? This ridge right in here. So this is our second row. How easy to find out which stitch it is? You can count those ridges. You can count the ridges of those little bumps on the bottom under the ridge. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here that stitch, find it, and that ridge, that actually it's a front stitch, front loop of a stitch. I will stretch it just a little, and into that stitch we will make, well, I stretched the wrong stitch, 1, 2, 3, this one here. I will stretch it just a little with my hook so that I could see it in front of me. So into that stitch 2 rows below we make double crochet stitches, 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And since it is popcorn stitch, in the book it says to close it together, we will, you saw what I did, remove hook from the last stitch, insert hook into the first double, into both loops, and pull this stitch through and make one more stitch. Now we have to skip 1 stitch on our row. 1 stitch is skipped right in here. This stitch will be skipped. Then we will make 1 and 2 single crochet stitches, and into the last stitch, which is not very easy to see because we need to go into the back loop, we have to make single crochet increase. So we skipped 1, we make 1 single crochet, second single crochet, and increase 1 and 2. 2 stitches into the last stitch, chain 1, turn your work. For the 5th row we crochet 8 single crochet stitches, or the way it is said in the book, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches at first, and then 5th stitch into the stitch that connects 4 double crochet stitches into the popcorn, right into that stitch, into the 5th, and then continue crochet 6, 7, then 8, and into the last stitch single crochet, increase. If you crochet tight as I am, you'll have to stretch that back loop for yourself from last stitch. Chain 1 and turn again. This row will consist 2 popcorn stitches. So at first we crochet. Again, we're going always into the 2nd stitch from the hook. We make 2 single crochet. Then again I will turn so that we could see and find the right stitch into the 2nd stitch of the 4th row. This is our 4th row, and we see the ridges. We will have to find our 2nd stitch. So again, we're counting those ridges here. This is 1, 2, 2nd stitch. We need to go there. I will stretch it so that I can see it, and crochet 4 double crochet stitches in that 2nd stitch. We call it popcorn stitch, so our 2nd popcorn stitch, 3 and 4. Then remove your hook, close your popcorn stitch, pull that stitch through, and 1 more stitch, chain 1. Again, skip 1 stitch right behind the popcorn stitch. 1 stitch is skipped, and we will go into the next stitch and crochet 5 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again we go into the 2 rows below, and we have to connect into the 8th stitch. So if we will count, this was 2nd, again we count in ridges 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8th stitch, or the 2nd stitch from the back, from this side. So this is 1 stitch, here's another one. We have to go into this stitch, stretch it a little, and make popcorn stitch in the stitch below. 1, 2, 3, 4, close popcorn stitch, and into, again we will have to skip and go into the last stitch. I stretch for me that stitch that I could see it very well. Into that last stitch we make 2 single crochet stitches, chain 1, turn work. Here how it will look like in the front. You will have 3 popcorn stitches already, and next we are going and we will crochet 11 single crochet stitches. So first 2 stitches over first single crochet, the 3rd stitch 1 single crochet on the double crochet stitches or on a popcorn, that stitch that connects them together, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again we have popcorn stitch here, connection into that stitch, it's 9, and 2 more stitches, 10 and 11. as you notice in this row, we do not make single crochet increase at the end. We just finish with chain 1 and turn. After that, we will make first 5 stitches, 5 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going into the 6th row and counting 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This stitch will be in the middle, right in here, between 2 popcorns. It's easier to find that way. Into that stitch we make our last popcorn stitch. 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4. Close your popcorn stitch, like that, and finish. Skip 1 and last stitches, 5 stitches that are left. Into those stitches crochet 5 single crochet stitches, and that will be the end. This is how you make the petal. I also go down 1 row, finding the first bump I found here, make slip stitch, cut the thread off, like this. As it says in the book, you have to cut it, fasten off. I leave this. I leave those this thread that I cut, and I will crochet over the packing cord our petal. I will crochet over this piece, that way I don't have to weave it in. So this is how you make the petals, and the rest of the flower we will continue together.